Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with Glenn Ambrose. Buckle up for some mind-boggling action. All right. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. I hope so. So, it's funny. This was brought to me by a friend of mine, Michelle, over in Panama, and she messaged me with this idea, this concept, and she even stated it might be turned into a podcast. Which, look at this, it is. Nice call, Michelle. So, and it's just kind of ironic because, like, I have notes on my phone. And they vary a little bit, but there's usually a morning one, an afternoon one, and an evening one that have something to do with my spirituality. And a lot of times they can be a reminder for me to meditate or whatever, but a lot of times they have like a little saying that comes to me during meditation or a reading or something like that jumps out at me and just resonates with me at that moment. I'll often put those in and then I change them so they don't get monotonous every once in a while, and shortly before she messaged me about this, like, I don't know, probably a week or two, and I haven't changed it yet, so it's still there. One of the notes that I have is look for what you like. Okay, so that was my note to myself that I put down in my phone that I see every day for, and it was probably a couple weeks before, who knows, maybe even 3 weeks before, 4 weeks before. Michelle messaged me with this idea. And this is basically what she was talking about. She expanded on it better. And I'm going to get into some of the points that came up for me, either from her message or as I tuned into it a little bit more. So, a lot of what we do, and I think that there's a lot of ways where we're starting to see problems with this, especially in a new age spirituality genre. We're getting clearer and clearer that we are just endlessly working on ourselves. And of course, we're going to constantly expand forever. So it's not about that. That's not what I mean. We'll always keep getting to become a better version of ourselves. There's always room for expansion and becoming more of ourselves. So it's not that we finish that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is fixing. Like, there's something wrong with us. Like a tree isn't sitting there, half grown and go, I got to fix this. I'm just not doing it right. I'm not big enough. Like, I have to become bigger. Okay, so let's go into my DNA and figure out what I need to do differently to get bigger, because I'm just not big enough. It doesn't do that. Nature doesn't do that. It just gives itself room to grow, understanding that it's going to continually grow until it dies. Not like there's something wrong that needs to be fixed, right? So I think we need to shift that perspective. And, that... that could be a podcast in itself, that concept, right? I didn't know that concept was going to come through right there. So But in alignment with this constant fixing, this constant going within and finding the problems and bringing them up to the surface, constantly recognizing things that we need to work on and then working on them, like it's endless. And it can keep us spinning, kind of forever. So one of the concepts that I've talked about very often is when you understand everything's energy, it can simplify things because you starve what you don't want and you feed what you do want. Okay, so if we're putting all our attention on what's wrong with us all the time and what we need to do to fix it, we're putting our attention is fuel, so we're putting too much attention on what we don't like, so it's feeding it when what we need to be doing is starving it. We don't we don't have to heal everything. Trauma gets thrown around so easily nowadays. Oh, I have childhood trauma, I have this trauma, I have that trauma, oh, I have to heal this trauma. It's like, well, some of it needs to heal. Some of it we need to heal. But if that's all we're doing is we're looking for our problems, when do we get to be the person that we want to be? When do we start feeding who we want to become? When does that get attention? Right? So what you focus on expands. You energize what you notice. So what we want to do is we want to choose what grows, choose what expands. And it's not about bypassing anything. If there's something that needs to be healed, then it will come up and you can heal it. What I'm talking about is that being the only thing, right? And that's what it feels like. It feels like we are stuck there, and people literally are stuck there. I know people that have been working on themselves for decades. I mean, heck, I've been working on myself for decades, and I'm not exactly where I want to be. I love myself and I like a lot of things about myself, but I've probably focused on what I'm looking to change a little too much and not focused on what I like about myself. And that over the last 22 years, man, if I just look at myself objectively and how I live my life, no, I'm not perfect, but I help other people. I'm kind as much as possible. I'm live a simple life. Like, there's a lot that I like about myself. And I think, even me, if I put my attention on that more, I think it would be beneficial, So yeah, it's not about bypassing anything. That's where the ego goes. Oh, well, Glenn just wants to whistle Dixie all the time and pretend everything's wonderful and not deal with anything. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Well, it's funny because as long as you're talking about looking at the negative, everybody's fine with it. Oh, just look at the negative. Oh, there's my mind bell. Look at the negative. Oh, I got a lot of work to do on myself. Oh, lots of trauma. Oh, I got to do lots of healing. Oh, lots of room for growth. I'm pretty messed up. Everybody's fine with all that. But then as soon as you start saying I want to look at things through a positive perspective. I want to focus on the good. I want to look at all the wonderful aspects of me. Then everybody's like, oh, you're spiritually bypassing. Oh, you're stuffing. Oh, you're not dealing with it. It's like, well, how come I can only look at the negative? If I try bringing positivity into my life, then I'm skipping over all the negative and I've got my head in the sand. Like, why is it like that? Shouldn't it be a balance? Sure, we got to heal some stuff. But the windshield is 100 times bigger than the rear view mirror. You know, why? Because where we're going is 100 times more important than where we've been. You know, when we focus on our negatives, the negative aspects to ourselves, and even kind of focusing on the negative aspects of where we are right now, when that's all we do, that's all we're giving energy towards. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a new future by the way we think. What we put our focus and attention on creates our future. So if we're constantly creating on what's wrong with us, then we're creating a future where things are wrong with us. I understand there's an aspect of healing, but stick with me. We can't just constantly look at our flaws. Otherwise, we're just going to be flawed. We can't heal them because we can't fully heal them and transcend them because all our attention is on that. We're never really becoming who we're trying to become. We just heal something, and then we got to heal something else, and then we got to heal something else. Why? Because our attention is constantly on problems, issues, negative aspects. So that's all we see. How can we heal something if we don't have a problem? Right? We can't. So really what we're doing is we're actually manifesting more problems in the future. Why? So we can heal them. Why? Because that's what our attention is on. Problems. How can we be a problem solver if we don't have any problems? We need problems so we can solve them. So this is what we manifest because that's what we're putting our attention on. That's what we're feeding. Okay? So let me move on here a little bit. I'm trying to use notes more. Oh, we'll see. I don't know if I like it. It breaks my flow a little bit, but it does keep me on topic better. So we'll see. I'd like you guys' feedback on that as well. You know, do you like me just going off on tangents and flowing more, or do you like me staying on point a little bit better and using notes? So yeah, so you know, what we focus on expands. We need to look for positives, not problems. You know, we have to train our mind differently. Instead of constantly looking for negatives, we need to start looking for the positives out in life, in other people, and ourselves. Right? So this is how we stop creating a future that we don't like. Our attention shapes the outcome. This is all what I was just saying a moment ago. Yeah, and the windshield rear view mirror thing, you know, the past we can use as a reference. It's okay. We don't have to forget it. We don't have to deny it. We can use it as reference, but it's not our focus. Our focus is the future, where we're going, who we're becoming. That's what's important, right? So this is kind of, to me, we're going to start getting into the crux of it. That kind of, I mean, that stuff that I just talked about is important. And honestly, I think it could be its own podcast, but, where, you know, I want to go into this reverse mirroring concept. So most people know that, you know, when we get triggered, it's often a mirror about, you know, so somebody does something to us or in our field of vision that we don't like, and it really upsets us. Not like, I don't really like that. Like it really triggers us. It really upsets us, right? So what that is most of the time is a mirroring effect. Basically, the reason it's bothering you so much is there's an aspect of you that is just like what you saw in that person, right? And a lot of people deny this, but it's the case. We have everything inside of us. So, like, before you dismiss this too quickly, understand we have everything inside of us. We have anger and frustration and negativity and all kinds of. We have both sides of the coin within us. We have all the positive things too. So, when you're like, well, no, I'm mad at that politician because like I never did something like that. I would never do something like that. No, maybe you wouldn't do what they're doing because you don't have the power to do what they're doing. And maybe even if you got there, you wouldn't do it because it's too grand or something, whatever. But you're doing a smaller version. You have a smaller version inside of you. And you may not even be really acting on it. It may be a suppressed part of you. But there's a part of you that resonates with that negativity. And that's why it's triggering you so much. So most people are pretty familiar with that triggers as mirrors concept, right? It's mirroring something within you. So if we can reverse this and flip that pattern, now all of a sudden, we're using people outside, circumstances, experiences, things, possibly nature, to enhance ourselves, to show ourselves the good that's within us. If you see somebody in a movie, a TV show, out in public, like let's say you see somebody holding a door for somebody with this big smile on their face, and the person that gets the door held smiles back in kind of a thank you at that person. And it's just this beautiful little kindness exchange. And there's a part of you that goes, oh, that's so beautiful. Look at that. There is good in the world. Well, the reason that struck your heart, the reason that resonated with you is because there's a part of you that's kind like that as well. Draw that line. Use other people and situations to mirror back all the goodness that's within you and make that what you feed. You see what I mean? Yes, Glenn. Yes, we do. Thank you. So we're reversing the curse. Reverse the curse. You can tell I'm from Boston. So, yes, this is what we're talking about. We're flipping that pattern. So instead of we get irritated and we're like, oh, I must have more work to do on myself. That triggered that part of me. I have that within me. Oh no. Like, start using it for good. Oh wow, look at how kind that person was. Ooh, that really touches me. So what's the opposite of a trigger, right? Trigger implies that you have a strong reaction to something, right? So maybe we could even use the same word, trigger happiness, trigger good. So it triggers a strong reaction to. So what I'm saying is whenever you have a strong reaction to, now a strong reaction probably will not grab your attention quite as much. A strong reaction to something good may not grab your attention as much as a trigger to something bad. Why? This is part of our problem. Most people, and I can't count how many times I've said this to people, you say, well, you know what it's like when you get 10 compliments and they bounce right off of you, and then you get one insult and it goes straight into your heart. Most people go, oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. This is part of the problem. We always focus on the negative aspects of ourselves. And if somebody does something negative towards us, we take it to heart. We act like it's so important. Oh my God, they insulted me. Oh, Oh, they must be toxic and I have to cut them out of my life. It's like, well, what about the 5 times that they complimented you? Did you take that as seriously as the insult? No, you just let those bounce right off of you. Wow, you're a wonderful person. Oh, no. I'm really not that good. I have a lot of work to do on myself. I'm trying. We deflect it and push it away. But then somebody says something negative and most of the time, negative stuff isn't even true. It'll be like, you're a jerk. I'm a jerk. Why would he say that? Yeah. Most people aren't jerks. No, most people are good people. They have their moments, but they're not jerks, But if somebody says you are, well, that's we take that to heart. We take that very seriously. That's disrespectful. But you get all these compliments and we just, deflect them off. We have to get in, if we can get into this habit of, and, you can do this at home too. I know, to me, if we can make this into an external practice, I think that that's huge. But just for a moment, make a list of all your positive attributes. I did a course creating the ideal you that's on my website. This could be a good precursor to what you're doing. If you haven't seen that, take a look at it. But really, it has a bunch of qualities, good qualities that you want to embody. And it has a list to choose from and their opposites, right? All in part of that course. So it's a good way to go through all these things. And, when was the last time any of you did that? When was the last time you or anybody you knew made a list of positive attributes that you embody? We're only feeding one side, man. We're feeding the negative. We're feeding what's wrong. We're feeding the negative aspects, focusing on them all the time. A positive one comes in, we deflect it from somebody else, like I was saying a minute ago. We never take stock in ourselves. We're too scared that we're going to become egotistical. Self-love is not egotistical. It's two completely different energies, and I've talked about this a lot in the past too. Check out some other podcasts. But it's like there's a gigantic difference between loving yourself and thinking you're better than other people. It's two totally different energies, two totally different things. And oftentimes I've used a little Pink explanation. So, I watched this video of Pink singing Bobby McGee, and afterwards they cut to an interview with her, and the interviewer asked her, says, "Oh, I wanted to talk to you about that so-and-so time when you sang Bobby McGee," and she just leaned back and kind of gazed off into the nothingness. To remember. She started remembering that performance, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I slayed that." And right when she said it, this just blast of self-love went through me, and I was like, "Oh my God, that was so beautiful." There was no ego in that. It was pure self-love, because she did slay it and she owned it. And that's self-love, and that's beautiful, and we need to have more of it inside of ourselves. Now, she could have said the same words in an egotistical way and said, "Oh yeah, that Bobby McGee. Yeah, I slayed that." That is a different energy. Same words, different energy. It kind of implies that, of course I slayed it. I'm awesome. Which kind of implies that if I'm awesome, then maybe you're not, because I'm freaking wonderful. And now don't get that's the egoic inclination, right? I'm not saying, I want to be clear on this. It's not the words. It's the energy within the words, the energy of the words, the reasoning behind what you're saying. That's what determines whether it's egoic or not egoic. So you can sit there and say, I'm wonderful. And that doesn't necessarily mean to imply that you're better than other people. That's not what I'm saying, because it's not about the words. You can say, I'm just wonderful. I'm wonderful. And that's self-love. And it's true and it's honest. Or you can say, oh yeah, I'm wonderful. And the energy of it is different. Now all of a sudden that's egoic. Yeah, look at me, I'm special. You know, so it's not the words, it's the energy behind the words. So we have to feed this self-love. It's okay to love yourself. In fact, it's really important. You know, so we have to get used to focusing on our positive attributes. Wow. And I just thought of something that I completely forgot about. The other day, like, I'm a very passionate person, right? And sometimes when I'm passionate, my energy can bubble over, and it can, if you go too far in any direction, there are negative or toxic aspects, right? So when I'm passionate and everything's going wonderfully, that's good. If I'm passionate and I go a little and I tilt the scales too far into being too passionate, now all of a sudden it can start getting a little bit toxic or unpleasant, right? So over the years, I've become fairly familiar with what it can look like when I allow my passion to go too far. So I can kind of reel that in, right? That's one of my adjustments for me and my personality. And what I just realized was the other day, I wasn't thinking about this podcast or even the topic of it, but there was another thought that popped in. And I was like, well, if I'm passionate and I'm kind of aware of the toxic aspects, being passionate must have a whole bunch of positive attributes. So I grabbed the phone and, you know, spoke into AI, and I was like, I think that's what I did. And I said, what are the benefits of somebody who is passionate? And here it is right here. So, you know, and this is a good thing for you to do too, in alignment with what I'm talking about. This is what it said. Passionate person benefits. High resilience and constant motivation drive passionate people to overcome obstacles that stop others. Their intense focus often leads to mastery and inspires those around them. Key advantages: persistent energy. You naturally work harder because the task feels rewarding, not like a chore. Greater creativity is another one. Passion encourages deep immersion, leading to more out-of-the-box solutions. And contagious leadership is the next benefit. Your excitement builds team morale and attracts like-minded collaborators. And then the last one is emotional fulfillment. Aligning actions with interests significantly boosts long-term mental well-being. So these are the benefits of being a passionate person, you know. And I just happened to grab my phone and look that up. I forgot all about that. I just looked that up the other day. So this is what I am talking about, people. Feed the positive, starve the negative. We're too focused, especially in the new age spiritual genres, on what's wrong, and it's delaying our evolution. We're I mean, I mean, you guys got to know people like that And even some of you listening, you got to be getting frustrated with your spiritual walk. I mean, those of us that have been on this spiritual walk for, me 22 years, other people 20 years, 15, 10 years, even 5 years. If you're just working on yourself constantly and you're not living a peaceful, contented life, like what's the point? And I think that there's a lot of people that are getting frustrated. And one of the things that they're doing is they're turning to a more mainstream religions. And I've touched on this before too. I think it's because it gives a big God concept that we can just fully immerse ourselves into, instead of nickel and diming ourselves to death with everything. We put our trust in God, and then all of a sudden things start simplifying. Now, I'm not saying that you necessarily need to go in that direction. I'm just saying I understand why some people are, because if you work on yourself for 10 years with constant, meditations and sound healings and retreats and trauma work and family of origin work, and you got a microscope inside of you looking for everything that might not be perfect so you can better it. And it's like, you and you're not really happy and peaceful. Like, what's the point? When I woke up, it was all about transcendence. When I woke up, it was through recovery and getting sober. So I transcended alcoholism. It's not an issue. It has not been an issue for at least 21 years, 21 and a half, maybe 22 by now. It's a non-issue. I do not struggle trying to stay sober. It's not one day at a time and half the time I'm suffering. It's not like that at all. It's a completely non-issue. I always liken it to tomatoes because I don't like the inside larvae stuff of tomatoes. I'm not scared of tomatoes. I don't have to avoid them. They don't come to me in my dreams and I have to fight myself from trying to eat a tomato. It's a non-issue. I don't particularly like tomatoes. Whatever. Who cares? It doesn't affect my life. There's no fear of them. It's the same thing with alcohol for me. It's a complete transcendence. And through that transcendence, where I land is freedom. I land in non-issue. It's a non-issue. I'm completely free. There's no fear. I don't have to protect myself from it. Now, personally, I truly believe that my life is based on spiritual principles. My whole life is based around spirituality. And personally, I think that that's probably why alcohol is a non-issue for me. Because I believe my recovery is based on my spiritual fitness, and my spiritual fitness is what I work on a daily basis. So of course it's not a problem. Like if I stopped taking care of myself or I didn't have spirituality in my life, I have no idea, because I feel like I fully transcended it, and I don't want to say something negative that isn't true. But, who knows? I mean, I guess it's possible that I end up drunk again if I don't take care of myself. But that's the last of my worries. Like, I don't do my spiritual stuff so that I don't have an urge to drink alcohol. I do my spiritual fitness because it's the cornerstone of my entire existence in every way, shape, or form. It's what brings me peace, happiness, contentment, courage, ability, allows me to do things. It's the corner of everything. It's my life. So yeah, so alcohol isn't even in my range of vision, because I'm too busy living my life spiritually, and living spiritually keeps that at bay. If it even exists anymore, I don't know. I mean, really, I've had lots of people tune into my energy, and I tell them I was an alcoholic for 20 years, and they're like, "Really?" Like, usually I'm very sensitive to addiction energy and alcoholism energy in particular, and I don't pick up on with that energy on you at all. And I think I basically erased that energy right out of my energy field. I transcended it so much. Now, does that mean it can't come back? No, I don't think so. I ain't going to play around with it. I'm going to get off this topic now. I'm not going to play around with it and go find out. I have no desire to, but I don't know. Maybe I have fully transcended it. Maybe I'm literally not an alcoholic anymore. I don't know. It goes against the theories. The theories say you're always one. So there's definitely but those are theories. God didn't say that. Alcoholics said that through their experience. And if they were drinking, then they weren't spiritually fit. And how many of them have actually transcended it fully? I don't know. I'm sure there are others. But my point is I'm not going to go play with it and find out. So I don't really care what the answer is, because I'm never going to go down that road. And just for the record, maybe I still am an alcoholic. That's fine. It's a non-issue, so who cares? I still don't like tomatoes, and that's a non-issue as well. So back to the topic. See, I'll still go off on tangents sometimes, even if I have notes. So it's about reversing the mirror, going out into life. Like I said, make a list at home, do it personally, make this part of your personal work, recognizing the good that is in you, and taking a moment to embody that. Like, this actually has been coming up a lot over the last few months. And I've told people to go back and listen to another podcast I did about be who you're becoming. I think that's the name of it. But what happens is we do all this work on ourselves, and we never just stop and go, okay, well, I healed this, and this, and I don't act on these things anymore. I'm a good person. Like, really take stock in who you are. Because if you don't literally stop and go over this psychologically, intellectually, contemplate it, feel it in your body, if you don't do that, what happens is you just minimize the growth that you've made. I can't count how many times with clients, a client is feeling frustrated and they're like, oh, I just, I work so hard and I just don't see the results. And I'm like, and I'm sitting here like, I can see their results because I'm not them, right? So it's easier for me. So I'm going like, you don't see your results. Okay, like, let's look at what you've done in the past year. And then all of a sudden I start listing things. And after about 3, you can see they're like, oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Wow. I have made large strides, and then, and then you get to like 5 and 6 and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea there was this much. And then you get to around 9 and 10 and their mind is just completely blown. They're almost a completely different person than they were last year. Like in every way, shape, and form, because, our cells regenerate and all that stuff. I forgot how fast that happens. Let me see if I can find out real quick. How fast do our cells regenerate until they're all completely new in our body? So total cellular replacement takes roughly 7 to 10 years. Stomach lining cells last only 2 to 9 days. Your skin refreshes every 2 to 4 weeks. While blood cells live about 4 months. The slow is the skeleton renewal, takes 10 years, and some heart and brain cells may never be replaced. Oh, okay. So there might be some that never do. But for the most part, we are completely different in 7 to 10 years in all ways, right? And in most things, from what I'm seeing, unless they're just, not giving me the full information, it's like 4 months or less that most things regenerate. So, I put that in there because to kind of satisfy that part of our brain. We are literally different people, different physically, different, and of course that can take a while, but so can everything else. But we are different physically, and that doesn't even really matter that much. But it helps anchor in the reality that we are different mentally, we are different emotionally, we are different spiritually, even faster. We are literally not the person that we were a couple of years ago. For all intents and purposes, we are completely different. Even if we still have some of the skeletal cells, they're not determining our behavior. But if we're really doing work on ourselves and taking this spiritual path seriously, we've changed ourselves dramatically, like night and day in a matter of years. Just in a matter of 1 year, we can do it, let alone 2, 3, 5, 10. Do you really feel like a different person? Like how you walk, how you talk, how you interact with people, how you handle situations. Like consciously, are you aware that you're handling things differently in every way, shape, and form now than you were 5 or 10 years ago? Most people are not. And most people might go, well, sure, yes, of course I've grown. Yeah, you're not aware of it. Have you ever sat down and really contemplated it and absorbed how much you've changed? Probably not, right? So this is, it's about anchoring in. Everything that I talk about is not just an intellectual exercise. We need to feel it in our bodies. We need to behave like this out in physical circumstances. We need to be in a situation where somebody is happy and we relate to their happiness and resonate with it and draw the line back to ourselves and know that we have happiness within us, and go through that physical process of literally thinking it and feeling it in our body. This is why if we make this a practice, this could be a game changer, I'm telling you, for a lot of people. So through doing this, the reverse mirroring mentality, right? Another way to phrase that reverse mirroring mentality is, if you see it, you have it. If you see it, you have it, right? We use this with negative mirroring aspects. If you see it in somebody else, it's inside of you too. Well, let's think about using that in a positive light. If you see it in somebody else, it's within you. So that's important, because you need to claim it. You need to acknowledge that it's inside of you. Claim it, feel it, be grateful that it's part of you. That's powerful, right? So it's embodying this stuff. It's claiming it, feeling it. So focus on the good in others. When you focus on the good in others, it creates connection. When you focus on the bad in others, which is oftentimes what we're looking for, unfortunately, it causes separation, right? Spirituality is about inclusion. Ego is about separation. So there's an egoic aspect when we're constantly looking at negative aspects and it's triggering us. Actually, that's literally the ego's job. Like when I'm explaining the ego to people, I usually say, like, if you were to build a robot whose sole job was to keep you safe, what would you make it look for? Would you make it look for good things, or would you make it look for bad things and problems? Well, if its sole purpose is to protect you from possible danger, then it doesn't have to look for good things. It doesn't have to protect you from good things. It has to protect you from bad things and possible danger. So it would only be looking, you'd only program it to look for bad things and danger. That's basically your ego. That's why it has a tendency to lean to the negative or way overcompensate if it tries to, if it actually tries to replace self-love, which it doesn't do very well. This is why really there's not that many egomaniacs in the world. I mean, you see one, it might stick in your head for a long time. and then they might be in the public arena more often because they like the attention and all that stuff. But there's not that many egomaniacs. There's not that many people running around thinking they're better than everybody. Right? Not really. So that's one aspect of the ego, but that's the identity aspect. The main purpose of the ego, other than just being who we think we are, its actual job is to protect us. So that's why it's usually looking for the negative stuff, right? So ego equals separation. And spirituality or positivity, focusing on the good, causes connection. We need more connection. And of course it's going to help you connect with people. So don't fight against what you don't want. We're doing too much of that. Oh, I don't like this part of myself. Oh, I have to work on this part of myself. Oh, I don't like this part of myself. Like, don't fight against it, because that's just adding energy to it. Focus on the good. Focus on how wonderful you are. Focus on feeding what you want to expand. Think about it. I mean, most people have low self-esteem or low self-love. Even the people on the spiritual path could handle an upgrade in their self-love area, right? Most people. Well, why? If they've been on this path for 10 years and doing all this work on themselves, why isn't their self-love as high as it should be at this point? It's because it's not being fed. It's not usually part of our spiritual progress. Our spiritual progress is all what's wrong with us and how do I heal it. It's not what's right with us and how do I feed it. That's what we need to do. We need to start including it. And usually it's it's about balance. So yes, there's still going to be things that we need to heal, but we're doing it way, way, way too much. So we need to just keep putting our attention on the positive and what's right over and over. I did a little podcast called What's Right with the World for a while. This is what's right with us. We need to focus on what's right with us and feed that and put our attention on that. All right. I think that's it. It's going to do it. I think I get the point across. All right. Thank you all for listening. And hopefully that helps. And I will see you again soon. Peace.